if you have something that's weak and you go expose it to something like barefoot shoes, then you're going to expose that weakness and it's going to be worse. And this is where the goes back to your earlier question about how can people change and what do they need to do. I think long term.
When you guys were working on me, you were showing me or explaining to me like how tight my hips are and how tight my quads are. And then as an example, you showed the same movements with Nsima, totally different. But the one thing you guys told me was like, we can't compare you to somebody else, but we can compare your left side to your right side. Why is that so important?
That's you. I'll come in.
Yeah, because, well, there's a lot of reasons, because you are definitely just you. You're the only you. And for various reasons, your history, your hobbies, your things that you've done, but also your anthropometry, the shape of your hips, the direction of the socket of your hips are different from the next person. Stuart McGill talks about this, years and years ago. So you have that. So what you can compare it to is the other side, because most likely the deviation from side to side is not enough for us to notice. You know what I mean? We would need some great instruments to kind of prove these differences. So when you see a hip on one side that rotates in beautifully and the other one can't, that's important, because you were, unless you have some weird orthopedic issue that is very rare, you do not have two equal halves anymore, or so to speak, equal halves. And you should have within a range of normality to be kind of equal side to side. And so when you have one side very different than the other side, we kind of know that you might have a lot of asymmetry side to side, because your body has to compensate to that new position, right? If we put like a hoka on one side and barefoot on the other, it's not just the foot that's up compared to the other foot. The whole system now adapts to that. Like one pelvis hikes up and then you have a small scoliosis in the spine. You have to tip your head back to the other side just so that you balance the floor out. So side to side tells you unbelievable amount, and it tells the patient a lot. And we talk about this on our podcast about please have awareness. Like, you don't have to know a name of a single muscle, a joint, nothing. If you lay on the floor, we did last month like a challenge, just lay on the floor for at least 10 minutes a day. I don't care what you do down there. Doesn't matter. Play, explore, do whatever. Reverse cowgirl. It's all fine.
Hey, now. Speaking my language. Let's go.
And what they'll do and gain awareness. In other words, they'll go, oh, my right hip is real. I can't sit in this like 90-90 position with my right hip, but if I flip the other way, it's no problem. Okay, now you might need a professional to help guide you where to go from there, but the better awareness you have, you start to figure these things out. And I was talking to Mark earlier, I said, I think professionals and chiropractors and PTs undervalue experiential experience and anecdotal evidence, like somebody like Louis Simmons or Mark Bell, or you guys who just spent time in the trenches doing things. Man, sometimes you can have a bigger impact than the person that can recite all these research articles, because you've seen it, you felt it, you go through your own problems yourself, and that is kind of invaluable.
Yeah, comparing side to side, I mean, is basic orthopedics. I mean, then comparing side to side, comparing above and below as well. James Syriax, the father of orthopedics, says you need to check the joints above and below. It's not crazy. It's so I mean, there's a good amount of people who you're built asymmetrically. Like, the right side of your body has an extra lobe in the lung, and there's a liver that's a little bit heavier over there, right? On the left side, you have your heart, and you have a smaller lung, and then you have your intestines that go on. So most of us are a little bit heavier on our right side, which predisposes us to a number of things. And these are things we have to take into account, right? And so that has a trickle-down effect, the same way that a hokas and a barefoot would have a trickle-down effect. When you take a big, deep breath, your torso fills up in a different way, and it predisposes you to certain twists. So if we only check the side that hurts, we're doing you a disservice. Clinicians, you need to get an idea of the whole system. And the idea of the whole system also goes back to the mental side of things as well. There are orthopedic baselines. So you have to take all that into consideration, I think.
And John, I want to ask you this because we were talking about feet earlier, but when we were talking about that in the gym, you were mentioning how some people make too big of a step too soon, because this is like the second time where barefoot shoes and barefoot activities have become popular, and they were, but a lot of people got themselves hurt. So can you talk to us about kind of how people got themselves hurt, and then how people can safely transition? Because number one, Vivos aren't the only shoe out there. right? There's a lot of other shoes that can be like ultras are pretty deep, pretty good, and a lot of other shoes that might help people in different ways.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people's feet are incredibly weak.
Yeah.
And if you immediately expose them, it's the same thing with anything. You put a lot of weight on someone's back and they were not familiar with it, it's gonna be a problem. So you can jump off the deep end and seriously like make your foot problem worse. Like a lot of like the back pain we were talking about with the instability, a lot of people's feet have instabilities. You guys were talking about like piano toes, like moving your toes up and down, like, and that connection, which most people can't do. Like if you're sitting at home right now, like try to lift up your big toe on the left, make it go, move the left pinky toe. Like a lot of times I know you can do it. I see. There you go. You can make it happen. It's not easy. It's not easy. And so there is this disconnect, which is a sign of weakness. And so if you have something that's weak and you go expose it to something like barefoot shoes, then you're going to expose that weakness and it's going to be worse. And this is where goes back to your earlier question about how can people change and what do they need to do. I think long-term barefoot shoes are the answer, to be fully honest. Barefoot sprinter guy, like I think barefoot itself, if you can, is a great way, a natural way. We're talking about kind of primal evolutionary stuff that your foot should operate. But on the way to there, you need to be a little bit more specific. So if you have foot pain, people ask me this all. I have pain. What should I do? And I'm like, I got to evaluate. I'm not a professional. I can't just crystal ball it like Sarno all the time. You have to get evaluated. So there are shoes for overpronation, oversupination. There's neutral shoes. Ultras are great shoes. But yeah, I think long-term, barefoot's the answer.
And you were also mentioning in the gym something about certain individuals who have like bone-on-bone stuff in their feet, and just barefoot shoes aren't good for those people, correct?
Correct.
So what was that?
So, I mean, that's the instabilities we're talking about. If those instabilities are there, this goes to the body. We were talking about how to create extension. If those bones are on bones and you don't have the ability to use the muscles in your toes, the intrinsic muscles of your feet aren't working, then you're just going to collapse further into that bone-on-bone problem, and it's going to make it worse.
Yeah.
So
I do want to mention too, because we've been talking about a Vivo and I'm using Vibrams too right now, but I've been wearing Vivos for about a year now. And as I was making that transition, I played soccer all my life, etc. But I had certain times where my feet were in fucking pain, like they hurt. So I want people to understand, just like Mark, you're getting into running and it took you a while to get to where you are now, but you had to make a gradual transition into being able to run 3-4 miles nonstop. This type of barefoot transition isn't just putting on a pair of Vivos and going out running. Like, you might have some pain sometime. You might have to go and wear some your normal shoes so that you can relieve your feet of some pain here and there. But it's not going to be something quick. In the long run, though, I've found it to be extremely beneficial. Like, I feel like a fucking kid because the connection now I can have to my feet, my toes, and all that shit. It's exciting, but give yourself time in that transition. And when you have these bumps in the road where you're feeling pain, or like, if you start to feel pain in your knees because of something, just understand that it is a gradual transition. It's not going to happen in just a few months. It could take a few years, depending on where you started.
People don't have that kind of patience, though. I mean, if you can be patient, it's so much better on the other end. If you're willing to be like, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, what sort of workout, what sort of food diet, do you want to have to be good, feel good in a year? If you have a wedding in 6 months, I get it. You have a quick thing you need to do, but like, what are you going to do for 10 years? What's your 10-year plan? And ideally it's barefoot. Extend that time horizon.
Power Project fam, this episode is brought to you by Vivo Barefoot Shoes. We've been wearing these shoes for almost a year now. They're flexible. They have a wide toe box. They allow your feet to get connected to the ground, and they will make your feet stronger, and they don't look like shit like a lot of these other barefoot shoes. Andrew, how can they get them?
You guys got to head over to vivobarefoot.com and at checkout, enter promo code POWERPROJECT to save 20% off your entire order. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes. Let's get back to this video.
I know Russia's not very popular right now, but we often talk about the Russian versus the Bulgarian system of Olympic weightlifting. Now, I know there's the Olympic weightlifters out there. I know there's nuance to these programs. I'm talking about the general concepts. We tell people to be more like the Russian style. This idea that from the age of 5 to their, it's almost like their profession, they're spending 90% of their reps in 60 to 75% of their 1 rep max. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
They're just building reps. They're like laying the foundation. They're earning the right to do these things. And that's the same thing. You have to earn the right to just throw on Vibram, 5 fingers and go for a 10-mile run. You have to earn that right. As opposed to, the Bulgarian system was this max out every day kind of thing. And then that works if you don't break, of course. But the idea was to be a little bit more like the Russians, this way of thinking, like, in the future, I'll be capable of great things. Because we know this. People will Google Mark Bell's workout or Dmitry Klokov's workout or Milanichev's squat program. And it's and what's the thing that we should say it back? It's like, do what Milanichev did 25 years ago, or do what Klokov did when he was, mimicking his father when he was 8 years old. Yeah. That's where we need to start. And people have terrible feet, let's be honest. My feet aren't perfect. Some of the people in this industry that know more about feet than me have terrible feet. And they're just trying, that's why they got so good at it, is to trying to fix their own feet. Yeah. So, I mean, these things take time. It is water on rocks, so to speak, before we can smooth them out. And yeah, we have to, like the patience thing, I'm not good at it. I'm somebody that's learned from trauma. I had to hurt my back. I had to pull a muscle. I've had to kind of lose things I couldn't do before, to where it kind of knocks you out of this and says, hey, like, I don't want to keep going down this path,
And I want you guys to correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe it's because I'm so fucking excited about the barefoot thing, but, being an athlete for so long and me noticing personally how much of a change it's made for me athletically and the way I move and different slightly nagging pains here and there, I feel like if I see this much of a difference and I've been doing the athletic thing for so long, I think it could be a massive mover for just anybody who just gets control of their feet and makes that transition over time, that a lot of things, you change this one thing and a lot of things just follow suit. Am I wrong in that logic, or what do you guys think about that?
Go ahead.
Well, I remember when we were on our walk and we were talking about how we get guilty about maybe putting some cream or honey in our coffee.
Right.
And it's like, that's somebody who's health conscious, and we're still going, well, it's going to benefit us by maybe I just omit that sugar from my coffee. And, Mark's kind of saying, like, what about the people that have this all day long? This is all they do. Like, what kind of benefits would they have if they pulled the sugar out? Do you see what I mean? It's kind of, it's this idea of like, of course it would have this immense impact, but they might have a longer process, to get where they want to go, versus you'll get instant feedback a lot more. Your athleticism, you're constantly been a mover your whole life. This has earned you rights that the non-mover or the older person much older than you has got to pay back to get those things.
I think feet are a low-hanging fruit. I mean, absolutely. There are weak links in the body. There are patterns. Everybody is unique and specific, but I think the feet, it's a foundation. It's your first contact with the ground. And if there's some sort of twist or torque or instability there, that starts to manifest itself upwards, right? Yeah. And so I think it's a really low-hanging fruit that a lot of people can work on themselves. We've been pretty abstract today. Let's be specific. Can you move your toes? Can you lift up just your big toe? Work on that. Can you get a lacrosse ball and put it on the bottom of your foot? Can you walk around barefoot for a little bit, right? I think if you will notice measurable changes if you can do that with the minimum amount of consistency in your life.
And if things hurt, like if you put a lacrosse ball under your foot and it hurts a lot, that's probably a sign that your feet are not very strong and maybe not very resilient, right?
Absolutely.
And the same thing with like elbows and knees and stuff. If you get down on all fours and that shit hurts a lot, you might have some issues with your tendons and ligaments and things of that nature, right?
That's where a room to grow is. We can go back to our hips over here, right? When we did that exercise, we did an exercise where he was just activating his groin muscles. And we put him in a specific position. You could probably see that video on the YouTube channel. But I mean, it spasmed up pretty intensely. And the groin muscle's not what you do. What was your experience there?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, laying down on my side, and I've never tried to, quote, activate my groin muscle that way, at least. I don't know if you activate it when you're like thrusting forward during intercourse. Not sure if that's the same thing. But what I was doing was like pulling back. It was so weird because you had me do a couple different things, but then you put my knee in a certain position. And again, I'm laying on my side. And as soon as I lifted my knee up, I could feel everything just like, nope. My body was like, dude, whatever you're doing, you need to stop right now because we've never done this and I don't know what's going to happen. I tensed up and it locked up. It didn't lock up. It just was about to cramp very fast. I mean, we're talking within like seconds of moving my knee a certain direction.
And so that's when after that, Andrew wanting to get better over and over, he was like, what else can I do? And I'm like, you have to work on this for a while. The weakness that you experience, the cramping that you experience is a sign of weakness that you're talking about, Mark, that you can work on. And so like sit there, stay there, get better at that for a while. If you experience weird pain in these interesting positions, and look, there's a difference between, there's this famous track coach, he says, there's a difference between pain and pain. And I think we kind of know the difference between the two. And so, yes, if you find those weak points, that's something to work on. Absolutely.
Yeah, you find something that's just like ridiculously hurts, then that's probably not a great idea to push into that.
Correct.
But if it hurts a little bit and you can make progress there, you might be onto something. I think you said something in the gym earlier that I think was really useful. I'm like, how much pain is too much? And you're like, well, if there's a regression, like if over the course of the next couple of days, you're like, ow, like shit's getting worse, well, then that's a pretty obvious thing, is to kind of go based on, I mean, it'd be nice to just throw out a number to somebody, but it's kind of hard because everyone's value of pain or degree of pain is different.
I think because I asked the question back to you and you said 3.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's 3 is a different 3.
Right.
But I think 3 is a healthy number. Again, pain or pain, that, yeah, absolutely. About a 3, if you can love it. The orthopedic phrase is progressively worsening symptoms. That's when flags go up as a doctor. Is it getting progressively worse? The same thing with running. You can kind of run, you can work out, you can sauna, and there can be discomfort. But if it's not progressively worsening, I think you're okay.
Do you guys think it would be a good idea just for us on this show, maybe to put forward, like, get to a field or a yard, your backyard, your front yard, wherever you got grass or a field of some sort, maybe like once a week or once a month, like rather like fuck the gym for the day, go out, get some sun, and trounce around barefoot in a field. Maybe the first time you go, you're not even running. You're just doing squats and you're doing lunges, and you're doing push-ups, and you're going back and forth between some exercises like that, rather than just like always thinking gym. I'm going to lock myself up in some shoes. I'm going to lock myself up inside. Yeah. You think that might be a great place to start?
I think a little bit, 100% play. Me and Bobby were having a walk, and we were shooting basketball. We were playing basketball. Go play basketball.
Who won?
I did.
Definitely me.
Definitely Bobby. But yeah, absolutely. Go try something new. You don't have to go 110%. There's times to go crush it and break a sweat and push your heart rate, but there's times to explore. I think we were talking about this in the gym. You showed me something really cool on the rack with your deep squat, exploring some movement, right? So go out into a field, play catch. I was talking to Bobby about like, man, you know how satisfying it is to get a glove on and a baseball? I played with my brother-in-laws just this past Christmas. It's so satisfying to play a game of catch. Maybe I'm a child, but like, go play catch.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's so satisfying. It's so rewarding.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of pickleball?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I just heard about it this past weekend, but it's like, I think it's like there's tennis, there's pickleball, and then there's ping pong, and pickleball's right in the middle.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things where it's like you don't got to be good, but it's a fun thing to go move your body around and just fucking play, get some different types of movement.
And you're not even really thinking about working out.
No,
you're just moving activity.
Yeah, I read some study a long time ago. That's just a correlative study that said the people that lived the longest, the activity that they did was by far racket sports. And I just tried to kind of think, why would that be? And I feel like it's a variable movement. The ball's going.
It's rare
all
to see
over.
a fat guy with a tennis racket.
It's fun.
That image though popped up.
Yeah. Trying to like think about it. And you're like, no, I don't think I can come up with any.
I think you at 3:30 just be standing on the baseline. Okay, get it. But yeah, you're outside, you're playing. There's joy. You're also playing with somebody usually. It's movement. It's a lot of things, and I think also the neuro enhancement aspect of movement is undervalued or sometimes underappreciated. Like, how many times have you been told, "Well, I would like to work out, but I don't have the energy to work out." And then you're kind of like, what you don't realize is if you started to move, you would have more energy, not less. And so like last night, I mean, we do this for our jobs and for our like hobbies and passions. And even last night we're playing pickup basketball because we found a basketball and we're like, this feels good. Like we need to play more. We need to do more
Mhm.
sports as opposed to a rigid structure. I mean, I love the weight room. I love training, and those are, don't take those from your life. We know how important muscle mass is and everything like that. But it's like, sometimes it's a reminder, even to us within this field, that we should just try things different or go play. I'm a scuba diver, and like that gives me massive reward. I'm like, why am I not doing this all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And then when are you the sharpest? Like when you just got done training, when you just got out of the water, when you just got done juggling the soccer ball for half an hour, and you're like, I feel great. Your body's trying to tell you, hey, can you keep doing this stuff? Like I'm trying to give you these endorphins and these chemicals to tell you that this is a good
You
thing.
bring up a really interesting point. Like, there's almost like no reflexes involved with lifting weights. Like there's a reflex aspect of seeing a ball bounce a particular way.
Mhm.
And it kind of reminds me of like a slip. You slip on some ice or you slip on something. And sometimes, like that shit will hurt if you slipped pretty far. But a lot of times you'll slip and catch yourself or sneeze real hard, or some loud noise will go crazy. And your body moves and reacts in a way where you were like, I didn't even know I could fucking move like that. If we
Yeah.
heard like gunshots in here right now, we would all like, hopefully it would move pretty fucking fast.
Yeah,
We would
yeah.
have a very like knee jerk, immediate
Sympathetic.
reaction to it. And you don't
Mhm.
really get that when it comes to lifting weights. So simply going out and throwing a football around,
It's great.
you'll explore all the different things that you guys learned about each and every muscle and tendon and ligament moving around just from somebody just running a pattern. You said you played tight end, right?
Mhm.
Just somebody running a pattern and catching a ball. You're going to get all those things. We're trying to defend the guy who's trying to catch the ball, and it might be fun.
Really fun.
100%. And if you can do all that with minimalistic shoes, that's probably that's where we started on this, though. But yeah, I mean, barefoot in grass and just nature. I mean, one of the things coming back from Iceland, where I lived for 8 years, was just being out in the sun. I honestly was a little sad. I mean, I love Iceland with all my heart. It's one of the greatest places. Please visit. But I had my boy, and he's 18 months now.
Yeah.
And I thought back to my childhood where I just had nothing on, a diaper on maybe, and I'm outside playing in the water hose, running through the sprinkler, just barefoot in the sun. And I'm like, he's not going to have this.
Mhm.
It's overcast most of the time, or it's 50-mile-an-hour winds. Like it's just, the weather's not great. And there's a whole bunch of other benefits, but I just kind of had the sadness. So there's a lot of things I'm looking forward to, nature-wise and movement-wise, that I can
Mhm.
expose him to. And people, our family members are already saying like, you need to cover up his feet. He needs shoes on. He's outside, and I'm like, he does not. He's bleeding. I don't care. There we go. No shoes. He's not. I don't care if his toes are bleeding.
Hey guys, I've seen that you guys have been commenting about how much you hate the whispering outro, asking you to like, comment, and subscribe. So I'm going to whisper again because I know you don't like it. So, hey, I know we're bringing you some good content. So like, comment, subscribe, and share it with some friends so we can all help each other out. And maybe I'll stop whispering in your ear. Bye.